Hello, and welcome to the homestead. So today we're going to discuss biblical preparedness, what the Bible says about how to be prepared, and what we should do about being better prepared for emergencies. But we're going to break this down into three sections. So we're going to start out with I call them the three-legged stool of preparedness. So it's support, which is build the communities around you, and building a good and fostering a good, solid, strong community around you. Skills, and then lastly, supplies. Um, Sorry about a little bit of the mess down here. That's an old wooden desk that we were given to burn. I'm going to be making biochar tomorrow. So that's set up there, and that is part of our new raised bed green, our new raised bed garden. The other piece is back there. You can't see it. That video is coming out here hopefully soon. I think I'm about half done with that. But anyway, so Proverbs 6:6, and I forgot to write this one down on my notes, but Proverbs 6:6 says something about don't be a sluggard, and look at the ant. The ant has no leader or overseer, nobody telling the ant what to do, but yet ants are smart enough to get ready for the winter. And basically, that's what that's telling us, is that we should be getting ready for hard times too. Not necessarily winter that comes every year because we have grocery stores, but we all remember during the pandemic and all the shutdowns, grocery store shortages, toilet paper shortages. People were worried about that with the tariffs, and I'm not talking about panic buying. Like, I'm talking about having the stuff before the emergency comes, so you don't need to worry about uh, panic buying and going out and grabbing this stuff last minute. And I'm going to try to mention every time we get to a new section from the Bible verse where this comes from. I encourage you to go look it up yourself and double check, read it. Don't just read that verse. Read the whole section. Read a chapter, two chapters, whatever it takes to get the whole section. That way you get everything in context. The first one there was Proverbs 6:6. So let's start with support. So support is your friends, your family, and the people around you in groups that are going to help you when you need help, and you help them when they need help. Uh, I ideally want good, strong, loyal people, and we're going to talk about what we mean by loyal in a little bit, and what we mean by all those in a little bit. But and godly people. Now that doesn't mean I would exclude somebody from my group that wasn't a Christian. I would just try to be a good example and try to witness to them to try to help them become a Christian. But if it was somebody that was opposed to my religious views, I don't think I'd be able to get along with them. I don't think they would be able to get along with me, rather, to the point where we could be a strong enough, tightly enough knit group for this to work. I'd be willing to try it, but I don't. Those people tend not to want to be part of good, strong, or good groups with good Christians, a lot of Christians in them. Anyway, this is it's important to have this good, strong group because we can't do everything on our own. Um, so I'm gonna have to have one of the kids help me move this other part, the other half of the raised bed, and then the whole family's gonna have to pitch in and filling it, and that's gonna happen this weekend sometime. So we need that kind of help. Eventually, I want to build my preparedness group and build my church group that I'm a part of to the point where we're actually helping each other. When there's a need, we see to each other's needs. If somebody's sick, we go help them mow their yard or whatever they need. If somebody's in the hospital, we visit them. If somebody's down on their luck and needs some money to help pay their mortgage, we jump in and help them. Your water heater's out, we'll help you swap out for a new water heater, whatever we got. And we all work together, and that brings us to our first verse. the book in the book of Acts, the early church. It's Acts 2, 42 through 47 is where it talks about this. But it says all the believers were together and they had everything in common. Now, that doesn't mean that they lived in a socialist commune. That means anything you needed that I had was yours. And anything that I needed and you had it, you give it to me. If I had something you need, I just give it to you. And they helped each other. They met every day. And I really wish I could get back to having a church that met not every day necessarily, but more often than we do. And met in our houses and had a more tight, close group. As I build the prepper group I'm putting together, we're meeting once a month. I'd like to get to the point where we're meeting, where the group's relatively large, and we have our big group meeting where everybody gets together once a month, but every week somebody's doing something and different parts of the group are getting together. One day somebody might be putting, like I said, a water heater in. Everybody gather to their, as many people can gather to their house to help them put in a water heater. Another day somebody's putting up a fence. So a different 2/3 of the group with some overlap and stuff, they go and put up his fence and stuff like that. And we're constantly doing stuff for each other all the time and being with each other all the time. Because if you can't get together and get along and do things on a Tuesday, you're not going to be able to get along and do things together on Doomsday. So all these prepper groups out there that are like, oh, when the crap hits the fan, we'll get together and we're gonna do. No, you're not, because you can't get together and do things now. And also, I'd like to get together with prepper group to do board game nights and movie nights and all kinds of stuff like that. Not just work projects, but just get together and fellowship time. And all right, so Nehemiah, that brings us to Nehemiah and building the wall. That's Nehemiah 4:13 through 15. I did a whole live stream once about Nehemiah. Unfortunately, I kept calling him Jeremiah throughout the live stream because I'm old and I suck at names. But anyway, so Nehemiah, I just did it. Nehemiah. So Nehemiah, he's living in exile. He's the cupbearer. He hears about what's going on in Israel. He prays about it. He asks the king if he could go help them. The king lets him go to help go back to Israel to help them. Problem is that Jerusalem, they've been trying to rebuild the temple and trying to establish Jerusalem after the exile and the war with the Babylonians, but they can't because they don't have a wall. So Nehemiah goes and helps them build a wall. Well, the problem is all these other nations around that don't want them to have the wall and don't want Israel to be able to take care of itself keeps threatening to attack them. So they start building the wall together, and everybody's responsible for building their section of the wall while helping each other. And while they're doing that, they're building the wall with one hand and holding a sword or a spear in the other. Now, I don't know if that's literal or not. I don't think it's literal. I just think it means that while building the wall, they were constantly ready to deal with being attacked by their enemies. And so that brings me to the application for us is we should be prepared to do things for ourselves and working on building up our own homesteads and our own preparedness, having our own supplies and skills and all that stuff. But we should be helping others with theirs and them helping us with ours. So that way, before things get bad, we've already built our own new community. We're not going to wait until the enemy attacks. We're not going to wait till whatever bad thing happens before we start getting ready. And by bad things, I don't mean like stuff that's in a movie, like a nuclear apocalypse or Panama dropping paratroopers in my backyard or anything like that. What I mean is, yeah, economic problems, job losses, recessions, snowstorms, tornadoes, knocking trees down, whatever it is. Like I made a video about this, but the neighbor's tree fell across their driveway and across the road. We went and cleaned it up, and one of the neighbors helped us, and some of the other neighbors were helping out with other neighbors, and we all got everything cleaned up out of each other's yards, or out of the roads for everybody. And we need to be doing that not only with our neighbors, but with our preparedness groups as well. So that's down page 1. I throw it over there in the burn pile. Let's burn it tomorrow when we make biochar. All right. So the last one is iron sharpening iron. So it's important to have a group of strong people that are well knit together. So this comes from Proverbs 27:17. As iron sharpens iron, one person sharpens another. So if an axe is dull and blunt, it can't be used. It's actually dangerous. So you got to take an axe or a file and sharpen the axe and remove parts of it, hone it to a nice, good edge to where it can be used. And we need people around us that are willing to say the abrasive things to us and that are willing to accept abrasive things to us from us in order to sharpen each other, to make each other better people in order to do the jobs that God has intended us to do. Just like a file removes the unwanted parts from the axe in order to make it able to do the job the axe is built to do. And if we don't have these people in our lives that trust us that much and we trust them that much, then we'll never be able to grow. A good example from the Bible for these kind of people are a group of people that their friend was paralyzed, so they couldn't get him in to see Jesus. So they drugged their friend up on the roof of the house and tore through the roof with their bare hands and lowered their friend down to see Jesus. We need friends like that, and our community needs to be people like that, and we need to be people like that, along with being able to just correct each other when we're wrong. Like, hey, Steve, I saw the way you talked to your wife the other day. That's you shouldn't talk to your wife that way. Or hey, George, you seem to be drinking a lot lately. Maybe you should cut back a little. Stuff like that. Or Greg comes to me and says, hey, man, I've noticed you haven't been doing all the stuff on your to-do list like you keep saying you will. And you're doing the stuff you want to do and not the stuff your wife wants you to do. And we're like, I'd be like, oh, man, you're right. I thanks for telling me I should be doing a better job at doing the stuff my wife needs me to do, along with the stuff that I think is important. Oh, shouldn't have tore that up yet. My tool bag just fell over my tool pouch full of screws. Hopefully it didn't dump out any of the screws. All right, so skills. I'm not talking about being completely self-sufficient and all that stuff. We just talked about having a group of people. But skills are more important than stuff, because you can have all the stuff in the world, but if you don't know how to use any of it, like, you can own all the tools in the world, but if you can't swing a hammer, they don't do you any good. So we need to learn skills. Paul, in the book of Acts 18, 1 through 3, it mentions that he's a tent maker. There's other places in the Bible that mentions other people that have professions along with doing what they're called to do by God. And Paul's a tent maker. He uses his skills as a tent maker in order to provide for himself so he can go around preaching and teaching and spreading the gospel. We need to learn skills and stuff too, so we can make money, bring stuff in. And also we need to learn skills in order to be able to do the stuff around the homestead and stuff like that, like build the raised bed. We need to do stuff, have the skills and abilities to do stuff like start a fire, build a shelter, store food, all the prepper skills. All right, we're gonna go on to I don't know why people are being so loud and obnoxious. one of the problems with having a homestead on the edge of the suburban area. Anyway, parable of the talents in Matthew 14 through 30. So Jesus tells a parable about these guys, this king that gives three of his servants some talents, some money, a large sum of money. Some translations say it's a bag of gold. I forget exactly how much money a talent is, but it's a lot, like several years' salary, I believe. Maybe a year's salary. It's a lot of money. But he gives one guy 5, one guy 2, and one guy 1. And the guy who has 5 goes out and invests it and comes and doubles it. The guy given 2 goes out and invests it and doubles it. The guy given 1 goes out and buries it and doesn't do anything with it. When the king comes back, he rewards the 5 and the 2 guy because they've gone and made use of the talents God or the king gave them. And this is where we get the word talents, as in my skills and abilities, from. And he tells the guy who he gave 1 talent to that since he was too afraid to invest his talent or even do anything with them, that he was in trouble for it. So God expects us to use our skills and our abilities and our talents that he gives us in order to make a return on investment for him. Now, how can we use our skills and talents to make a return on investment and give something to God? This doesn't mean like using my skills to make money and then putting my money in the stock market and then giving that return to the church and a tithe. Well, there's nothing wrong with that. What's more important is using those skills and gifts and talents to go and find people and bring them to God, because we've all heard you can't take it with you. Well, the one thing you can invest in that does go to heaven are people. So we should be investing in people, and not just investing in finding and bringing people to heaven or to God so they can have a relationship with him in order to go to heaven, but we should also be investing in people who are already professing Christians in order to help lift them up and help them become better Christians. And doing all that will also help us have a better relationship with God. I explained this to my youngest Thomas the other day by saying that if somebody does something nice and does something to take care of him and for him, that makes us, me and my wife, happy. Just like doing stuff for God's children makes God happy. So that brings us to our last part of skills, and that is from Proverbs 22 through 29, or 22:29. And do you see someone skilled in their work? They will serve before kings. All right. Now, I don't think we're literally like going to serve before kings or high important people. Now, in that time, to the group of people Proverbs was being written to, yeah, there's a good chance that they may actually end up working for the king if they were skilled enough. And if you're skilled enough now, you may end up, being the artist for the presidential or congressional photos or portraits or whatever. But what's more important is using our skills and our gifts to glorify God. And he's the king that I care about being in service for. Now, how does all this relate to prepping? Well, like I said, if I lose all my all my stuff, having the ability to grow food, having the ability to produce food, having the ability to go work, having all these skills and a plethora, having a bunch of skills. Now I can't say the word. Having a bunch of skills means that I can replace or deal without having the right stuff or the amount of stuff that I wish I had. Now, I'm still going to not neglect storing up supplies in order to just get skills. You should do both. Like, building a community, or building your support network, building your skills, and building your supplies, all three to go together. That's why they're a three-legged stool. If any one of them is short, you'll have an issue. If any one of them's weak, you'll fall over. But if all of them are good and strong and stable, you're not going to wobble. You'll be good in your preparedness lifestyle. So that brings us to our last one. It's hot out here. And that's supplies. And the reason I'm doing this now is because in our last week's live stream, we talked about Joseph and the plague, or famine. And that comes from Genesis 41 through verses 47 through 49, even though the story's much larger than that. You should read the whole thing. But Joseph stored up huge quantities of grain, and it says it looked like the sand of the seas. There was just so much grain you couldn't count. And because Joseph listened to God, he stored up all the grain, and he was able to feed people and protect people and protect his family. But the Bible also says in that story, if you read carefully, that the people that didn't store up grain, so all the Egyptians knew that Joseph was storing up grain, but none of them stored up grain for themselves. And when the famine hit, the people of Egypt, they ended up selling their land, their cattle, everything they owned. They even sold their children and themselves into slavery to Joseph, and in order to pay for it. So they had to, everything they produced from then on out, 10% of it had to go back to Joseph, because they sold themselves to him, because they weren't willing to, they didn't follow Joseph's lead and store up food and stuff for themselves. And we see the people of the rest of the Middle East up in the Mesopotamia area. They were traveling all the way down to Egypt, which I don't know how long that would take, days, weeks, maybe months. They would travel down to Egypt and sell. They would bring all the goods of their land and all the gold and silver they had to trade for the food Joseph had. And if they didn't have it, I don't know what they did. They probably starved. And they had plenty of opportunity in the good times leading up to the famine, just like Joseph did, to store up food, and didn't have much of an excuse. Just like us today, we have plenty of good times, plenty of food at the grocery store. There's no reason we can't store up extra rice and beans and stuff like that. All right, that's the end of page 3. That leaves one more page of notes. All right, the Good Samaritan. Luke 10:33 through 35. This is a story that doesn't get talked about a lot, and this is an aspect of the story that doesn't get talked about very much. I've never heard a preacher talk about this part, but it said he, as in the Good Samaritan. Hold on, move the camera. The wind's blowing my notes around. Sorry. He, the Good Samaritan, bandaged his wounds, poured oil and wine. So he used healing herbs and salves on the injured person, and took 2 denarii and gave them to the innkeeper. So what happened is, there's this guy, he's beat up by thieves, left at the side of the ditch. All these good people walk by and don't help him. And then the Samaritan, the people that the Jews at best didn't get along with, comes by and helps the man. And he bandages his wounds, puts healing oils and salves on him, takes him to a inn and leaves him there, and pays the innkeeper to take care of him. That way he has a chance to heal. And the only way the Good Samaritan could do all this is if he had the money with him. He stored up and saved his money. He had bandages with him. He had the healing oils and salves with him. He was prepared to deal with this. And I don't know if the supposed good people, the priests and the Levites and stuff, if they just didn't have that. Oh, I know they didn't help him because they didn't want to sully themselves helping an injured person and degrade and defile themselves. And the Samaritan was willing to go down in the ditch and help a wounded and bloodied man and make himself ceremonially unclean. But I don't know if the other people even bothered to care, because they didn't care if they even bothered to prepare to deal with coming across somebody that might be injured. That's not the important part of the story. The important part of the story is you should go and help the man in the ditch. And even if it makes you ceremonial unclean, you should lower yourself in order to help people. But it's also important to note that Jesus made sure to mention that this guy had the supplies to take care of the injured man too. I thought I had one more on. Oh, here we go. Wise provisions. Proverbs 21, verse 20. The wise store up choice food, olive oil, but the fools gulp theirs down. So, what it's saying in Proverbs is the wise people have store up food in case they need it. And right now, me and Sarah mostly have stored. Well, we have two types of storage, really. We have the storage in the crawl space that's rice and beans and noodles and flour and stuff like that. That's most of our storage. But we also have storage in our pantry of having extra of everything that we use routinely. So we should never run out and have to go to the grocery store. Really, when we go to the grocery store, it's to buy our second or third or fourth of those to fill up the back of the pantry. We're never running out, and that's the stuff we eat day to day. And like having extra mustard and ketchup and red sauce on hand. The air conditioner compressor just made a funny noise. We had some issues with it last year. Hopefully we're not having issues with it again. So we should keep all that on hand and not just be foolish and oh, it'll always be there. We'll always be able to go get it. We've all seen during the pandemic that no, you may not be able to get it. And I know all kinds of people who've dealt with all kinds of issues. I know somebody whose daughter is on oxygen and they had a power outage and they weren't prepared to deal with it and they didn't learn anything from it. And they're still not prepared to deal with if they have another power outage. They just think, oh, well, the government's going to come and help me and save me. And they got mad last time when the government didn't come and help them and save them from a short power outage of just a couple hours. I don't know what they're planning on doing if there's a longer term shortages of anything. Hopefully there's not.
Hopefully she does well. But that's all I have for today. Remember, these three pillars of preparedness are a three-legged stool. They provide a stable foundation for preparedness, and that's support, skills, and then supplies, in that order of importance. And together, they provide a good, solid, stable foundation for us. If you like this kind of preparedness or homesteading or Bible study topics, do the algorithm thing, like, subscribe. But you can also join us over and have a better conversation. I'm trying to really build my Telegram following. Telegram group. Come over there and join us and have a conversation. Right now, it's just me and Sarah. We're really pushing to build that into a full-fledged conversation with people. And that's Telegram, t.me/prepare to prosper, or just search for Prepare to Prosper on YouTube or on Telegram. And that's all I have for today. Remember, I encourage you to go look up all the Bible verses I mentioned and read the whole thing in context for yourself. And remember, we prepare today so we can prosper tomorrow.